Assalamualaikum class. Today our topic is public policy planning, implementation and evaluation. So, disadvantages of planning. What are the disadvantages of planning? Obviously, if we have the advantages of planning, there is also the disadvantages of planning. There is internal limitation of plans and the external limitation of plans. In internal limitation of plans, there are several limitations of planning. Some of them are inherent in the process of planning, like rigidity, and the other arise due to shortcoming of the techniques of planning and in the planner themselves. So the first one is the rigidity, internal limitation of planning. There is a rigidity. Plans has tendency to make administration inflexible. Planning implies a thorough determination of policies, procedures, and programs, and a strict adherence to them in all circumstances. There is a no scope for individual freedom. Therein, the development of employees is highly dependent, because of which management may have faced lot of difficulties in the future. Planning therefore introduced inelasticity and discouraged individual initiatives and experimentations. That's why there is a second one disadvantage of planning is misdirected planning. Misdirected planning may be used to serve individual interests rather than the interest of the enterprises. Planning may be used to serve individual interests, not the interest of enterprises. It attempts can be made to influence setting of objectives, formulation of plans, and programs to suit one own requirement rather than that of the whole organization. The machinery of planning can never be freed of bias. Every planner has his own likes, dislikes, preferences, attitudes, and interests which are reflected in the plan. So this is the disadvantage of planning. The next one is third one, disadvantage of internal limitation of planning is time consuming. Planning is a time consuming process which it involves collection of information, analysis and interpretation therefore of its entire process take a lot of time, especially where there are a number of alternatives available. So, planning is not suitable during emergency or crisis when quick decisions are required. So, that is the disadvantage of planning. The next one and the fourth one is probability in planning. Probability in planning is based on forecasts which are merely estimates about future. These estimates may prove to be incorrect due to the uncertainty of future. Any change in the anticipated situation may render plans ineffective. Plans do not always reflect real situation in spite of sophisticated techniques of forecasting because future is unpredictable. Thus, excessive reliance on plans may prove to be fatal. False sense of security, the second last disadvantage of internal limitation of planning. Elaborate planning may create a false sense of security to effect that everything is taken for granted. Manager assume that as long as they work as per plans, it is satisfactory. Therefore, they fail to take up timely actions and an opportunity to lost. Employees are more concerned about fulfillment of plan performance rather than any kind of change. So that's why this is not a successful procedure. The last one, internal limitation of planning is expensive. Obviously, collection, analysis, and evaluation of different information, facts, and alternatives involves a lot of expense in terms of time, effort, and money. According to Cons and O'Donnell, expenses on planning should never exceed the estimate benefits from planning. So these all were the internal limitations of planning. Now we will see the external limitation of planning. Political climate. Political climate means change of government from one party to some other political party. It can affect the planning procedure. Labor union means strikes, lockdowns, lockouts, and other labor strikes that affect our planning procedure. Third is technology. Technology changes that modern techniques and equipment, computerization, these all are the external limitations of planning. Then there is the policies of competitors. Policies of competitors affects our planning procedures. If we forecast wrongly the competitors' plans, so our plans will be flop. Then the next is natural calamities, earthquake and floods that affect our planning procedure and their to achieving our specific and written goals. And the last one is changes in demand and prices, change in fashion, change in taste, change in income level, and demand falls, price fall, etc. and etc. These all terminologies, these all effects are planning procedures. These all effects are uh, properly do it all plan and all our procedure. So that's why these all are the disadvantages of planning. If we plan before the time, if we plan for the long time, we'll face all these uh, limitations, all these disadvantages in planning. Next one is levels of planning. At which level, at which size, planning is done at different level, therefore its size and magnitude is different. Following are the different levels of plans that are written in this slide. That is, national level is made at the country level. Obviously, one country level will make the national level. Others are provisional, organizational level, departmental level. These all are made in their own level. Unit level is also made at unit level, and personal level plan could be professional plan or a private plan. Types of planning. Actually, proper planning is a very important part of any business. The business needs to plan out for its operations, investments, strategies to be adopted, growth and the expansion path, products, etc. and etc. Different plans are required for different situations. Plans are essential at every step of business survival. These plans could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. So if we see the first plan, the type of plan, that is a startup plan. This plan is the defining step for any new business. It has an executive summary in the beginning and the projection for the first year. It also lists the company's aspiration and strategies in the term of product or services to be produced, the market in which it is going to be operate, implementation, milestones, and the team that is going to be implemented. The financial goals such as intended sales and anticipated profits are also be chalked out in the startup plan. So it means that is the executive summary in the beginning and the projections of for the first year. Startup plan is defined in a simple words. Then we are going to the next step, that is the second type of plan, that is feasibility plan. This plan, this plan, the flexibility plan, a business must be set up. This is an extension of a startup plan. It has an executive summary and after executive summary, that it has mission statement, goals, analysis of the market, cost, pricing, and likely expenditures. So these all are included in the feasibility plan. So the next plan is the third one, an internal plan. These plans are the name suggests are internal to the organization. The entire organization planned working style is briefly listed here. Each functional department has an external plan for its functioning and operations. These usually include implementation milestones, and the time frames and the responsibility of the people who would execute the work. The fourth strategy type of plan is strategic plan. This planning is for the overall picture. With a strategic plan, the organization check out all the alternative available, and the trade-offs is choosing any one over the other. So the priorities are underlined, and the ends and means towards achieving targets are spelled out clearly. So the fifth, in a growth plans, plan chalk out the organization path toward expansion. This almost always include views on investment, operation finance, time and personal resources, and demand and sale projections in the event the company expands. Also, if company is planning to introduce a new product, this planning come in handy. So the last one plan of operations plan. An operation plan is an internal plan. This is usually not meant for investor or client, but for the owner and employees only. This should detail how the business is meant to run. It can include upcoming projects, events, and milestones for the business. It can also detail different employee responsibilities. Barriers of planning. Various planners can inhabit successful planning. In order for plans to be effective and to be yield the desired results, manager must identify any potential barriers and work to overcome. The common barriers are as mentioned in this slide. The first one is inability to plan or inadequate planning. Managers are not born with the ability to plan. Some managers are not successful planners because they lack the background, education, or ability. The others may have never been taught to how to plan. When these two types of manager take the time to plan, they must know how to conduct planning as a procedure. Lack of commitment to the planning process. The development of a plan is hard work. It is much easier for a manager to claim that he or she does not have the time to work through the required planning process than to actually devote the time to developing a plan. Another possible reason for lack of commitment can be fear of failure. As a result, manager may choose to do little or nothing to help in the planning process. So the third one, barrier to planning, is inferior information. Facts that are out of date, of poor quality, or of insufficient quantity can be major barriers to planning. No matter how well manager plans, if they are basing their planning on inferior information, their plans will properly fail. The fourth barrier of planning is focusing on the present at the expense of future. Failure to consider the long-term effect of plan because of emphasis of short-term problems may lead to trouble in preparing for future. Managers should try to keep the big picture, their long-term goals in mind when developing their plans. Too much reliance on the organization's planning department. Many companies have a planning department or a planning and development team. These departments conduct studies, do research, build models, and project probable results, but they do not implement plans. Planning department results are aids in planning and should be used only as such. Formulating the plans is still the manager's responsibility. So the last one is concentrating on controllable variables. Managers can find themselves concentrating on things and events that they can control, such as new product development, but then fail to consider outside factors such as poor economy. One reason may be that managers demonstrate or decide performance for the known and an aversion to unknown.